Check. Hello,
You have
Dave.
to unmute, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
Hi. How's it going, Dave?
Okay, I was trying to get you on my iPad, but the whole address and everything was on my phone, so I had to go back to my telephone.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why it took me so long to get it going.
No
Don't
worries.
worry.
Yeah. Oh, perfect, man. You're a legend. You're a legend. You're my childhood memory.
Oh man, I'm just a memory now.
Well, yes. Well, you just got upgraded to a real person. So
Oh, jeez.
That's
no, but seriously, I listened always to on my way to school. I listened to your to the second album of Heathen, like up and down all the time. Like it's an honor to
Nice.
meet you.
Well, honored to meet you too. You guys, that's awesome.
Okay,
great.
and Michael.
Yeah. Michael
What's-
from
What's
Germany.
that?
Me is Federico,
Sean
Argentina.
from Australia.
Sean from Australia. Hey guys.
Hey,
Hi.
how you
So
going?
it's Sean. We got
Sean.
Federico and Michael.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me, Federico.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right.
it was the same for me, you know, that I heard Hidden since I was a child, and your first album were so awesome as the last one, you know, for me at least.
Oh,
So it's
well,
been amazing for me, you know.
it seems to take us a while, but
Yeah.
I think that we've always delivered for sure, right?
Yeah. Why so many years between the records?
Life gets in the way sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, we had issues after breaking the silence, we had issues with the label, and then we ended up changing labels, and it just took us time. Even I left the band for in between that record, because of all the bullshit that was going on. But we got it together. We did Victims, and then after Victims, we did a tour with Sepultura, and um, things just got weird, and grunge was hitting, and Lee left to go tour with Die Krupps, and he ended up working with Die Krupps for like 5 years. That just like completely put a dent in keeping the Heathen thing going. So, and now Lee's an Exodus, which makes things awkward too. And before this new record, Cragen was filling in for Gary,
Yeah.
touring while Gary was, filling in and, basically filling the shoes of Jeff Henneman with Slayer. So
Yep.
we just all kind of roll with it. And, I'm always involved in different projects. Sometimes it's just for fun, stuff that's local. And, I didn't even know if we were going to do another Heathen album, because it was taking so long. But the fact that we had a new record deal on the table with Nuclear Blast, I figured it would happen sooner or later.
Right. And it's an awesome album. Congratulations. Like 10 years
Okay.
gap, and then you drop the bomb. Like really awesome album.
Well, yeah, thank God it was. And right now we're already, because of everything with the COVID and all that, doesn't look like 2021 is going to be ready for a whole lot of touring and things like that. But our mindset is we have a live record that we're mixing right now,
Okay.
and we're looking to do a licensing deal to do an anniversary re-release of Victims of Deception this year.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we have we're working on maybe an EP, do some covers that we like, that we'll record, quickly. And then right now everybody's in the writing mode for the next record already. So,
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
David, where are you right now?
I'm in the back patio of my house in Florida.
Yeah, it looks very nice and sunny and warm.
Yes. Well, it's not too bad. It's not too warm today. We still are in a winter mode.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably between 50 and 60 degrees right now.
Okay, that's all right.
But it's a gorgeous day for sure.
Yeah.
And so how did you spend the last year, 2020, with the whole COVID situation, and what did you get up to for that time period?
Well, as you know, I mean, the year started off amazing because we had finished the record before the year was up, and Zeus was mixing it, and it was set to come out in June, and we had all our tour plans happening. And I did a show with Anvil Chorus. I went to see Kiss. I was getting really excited. I did a show with Terry Lauderdale band, but just getting ready to do a tour and see the world again and see a lot of old friends. And then there was all this, we started hearing about COVID, and it was kind of a growing like concern. And then like what is it? I did a show on March 11th with Anvil Chorus, and then that was the last show at that club. It was at the Cornerstone, and they basically closed it up because of COVID, and everything closed up. And the following Monday, they basically had a shelter in place, and we sheltered in place at home in Oakland, California, for a little while. But we were packing stuff because the plan was to move to Florida. My in-laws are here, and we loaded up these pods with a lot of stuff, and we moved 4 of them. But we were sitting there like twiddling our thumbs, kind of, trying to decide what to do. And finally, we're like, look, I'd rather shelter in place by the beach. So,
Good idea.
So we loaded up and got a U-Haul truck, and we loaded some more stuff, and we got an RV, not a truck, but an RV, loaded a bunch of stuff into an RV, and drove across country. I brought all my guitars, I brought my dog and some other stuff. And me and my wife, it took us about 5 days to drive across the country.
Wow.
5 days.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's quite big.
5 days. Wow.
It's a big country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
5 days.
actually, we probably could have done it faster, but we stopped off. We have friends that moved to Texas. They live in Austin. And so we went there for a day, hung out, spent the night, and then got up early and got on our way. And we made it all the way to Perry, which is in Florida, that day. And then it was a short drive the following day to get to the house. And we've been here pretty much ever since. We've been working on the house, doing projects, and my wife's been working, remotely. I've been teaching music lessons online, but I've been enjoying. In the summer, it was super hot, and so I swam a lot in the ocean, and took my dog to the dog beach, and he swam a lot, and he was jumping in the pool all the time. And tried to have as much fun as we could without coming into contact with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we cooked a lot, we listened to lots and lots of music, got excited about the record coming out. And, it's even doing like interviews or things like this, we're talking to people. It's a lot of fun to talk about music and just talk to other people from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure everybody has that. And, but then I kind of get a little sad after, because it's like, party's over, and there's a lot of places like close to me that they have live music, but it's mostly cover bands. But we don't really frequent any of these places because some of the places they pack them in pretty good. And in Florida, they're not really, I mean, I think that most of the people are wearing masks and things, but the people that are going out to the bars and stuff are like, yeah, whatever, and I don't want to be around people that aren't thinking straight. So I can hear there's a club right by me, a bar. It's like a tiki bar, and they serve Italian food. And I hear the bands playing there all the time. So I'm excited when this goes away to have a lot more fun and a lot more drinking.
Yeah.
For sure.
You're the only one in the band that is in Florida right now?
Oh yeah. Lee is in the Bay Area still. Our new bass player, Jason Mirza, he lives in Southern California. And then Cragen lives in Little Rock, Arkansas. He moved there from LA. And then Jim DiMaria, our new drummer, he is a nurse up in New York.
Oh.
He's working, and so he's he's like my hero because he's like working. He had a heart procedure a couple years ago, and he's a super strong guy. He's like CrossFit trainer. You know, he's like a black belt in kung fu, super fit. But something happened, and his heart gave him a little bit of a hiccup, and he made it through. And he's been right in there in the battlegrounds with all the the ICUs with COVID patients and all that.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy stuff, really.
Mm.
I feel
Especially in
bad
New
because
York.
I'm at the beach. I'm at the beach taking it easy, and he's like busting his tail.
Yeah. Right. Well, New York was in the focus of the pandemic. No, it was pretty bad there as a situation.
Yeah, but they've done a good job, and the people there have done a good job at as far as knocking it down. A lot of young people, they want to party, and it's hard to keep people down for too long. They just like can't help themselves. California was doing well too back before we left. They seemed to be knocking it down, and then they started to open things up a little bit after we left, and it just got out of control, and California's having a hard time.
Yeah, same here in Europe. Like they opened up during the ssummer and it came back with vengeance, with massive power.
Yeah, well, it's the same, people, we're so used to doing it with what we want, and who's gonna, I feel fine. Why can't I go have a beer? Why can't I go dancing? Or why can't I go? It's like, well, it's a airborne pathogen, and people don't seem to understand what that means. That means you don't want it. You don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Florida is right now like holiday time for Argentinians. So you must be all of Latin American people around you.
I didn't know that was the case as far as like holiday, but that's awesome. That's awesome.
Mm.
It's a good place to come, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not right now because I'm in summertime right now. I'm in Patagonia, which is in the south. So
Yeah.
now we are okay. Right now we have 30 degrees, so it's okay for me.
Oh yeah. Nice. I have my good friend Thane Rasmussen. He's a guitar player from Chorus. He played with Vicious Rumors, all that. And then we had a group called Evil Twin. Anyway, he still lives in the Bay Area, and he gave me a call last week, and they got an awesome deal to go to Hawaii. So they were in Maui for a week in about 8 days.
Oh.
And it's like a nice 80 like all the time. It's just like, but I was super happy for them.
Good. What can you tell me about the 80s in the Bay Area, which is so famous?
Well, it was an amazing time. For me, it was, just coming out of high school, was in a band, with Blind Illusion. And then the club scene opened up for up and coming bands. Bill Graham and KRQR, which was the local radio station at the time, collaborated and did this Metal Monday, they called it. And that started everything, because before, I remember trying to get a club show with Blind Illusion. We could not. They just thought we were a bunch of kids that didn't know what we're doing, But the club scene opened up, and then all of a sudden, I went to a couple of shows, when we weren't playing, and there's these bands from all over the place. And we grew up, coming out of high school with bands like Exodus. We used to play parties, and they would come play with us all the time. We were all mutual friends, and we all went to high school together. And they hit that scene before Blind Illusion, because Blind Illusion had actually broken up right before it started happening. It was really kind of crazy. I was in the band with Mark Biederman and Les Claypool from Primus and Brian Kehoe and Brett Hearn, and it was an amazing lineup at that time. We did a demo. It got played on KUSF, which is the college radio station in the Bay Area. But there was no club scene for us yet. And out of frustration, the band kind of split apart. And I actually went to one of the first Metal Mondays because Exodus was playing and they're friends of mine. And Chorus was the headliner. and I was like blown away. It was so cool, and it was cool to see my friends, rock it. And then Amble Chorus were like more progressive kind of music, and it was more kind of like what Blind Illusion was doing. And so I called Mark the next day, and I was like, dude, we got to put the band back together. And so we didn't get all the original guys back, but we put a new band together and called it Blind Illusion, and hit the club scene and all these bands. I met so many people during that time, and then all was busting. Metal Monday became Metal Wednesday and Metal Friday, and other clubs joined in, and now you had all these different clubs all over the Bay Area that were popping on the weekends and during the week somewhat. And then Metallica came up because they wanted in too, and they loved it so much in the Bay Area. They ended up moving up to the Bay Area, and then they fired their bass player, and they excuse me.
Yep.
Hold on.
See here?
I was getting a phone call and it just tried to kick you off. They plucked Cliff Burton out of the band Trauma, and they were hitting the scene, and everybody, everybody's partying with them, and they liked them, and they felt comfortable in the Bay Area, and it's just a really exciting time. A lot of music, and then Metallica ended up getting a record deal, and then they, weren't comfortable with Dave Mustaine or whatever, and then they plucked Kirk from Exodus, and the rest is history. They but then all the bunch of bands from the Bay Area, because Metallica bands started getting picked up and getting signed in the Heathen. Then I left Blind Illusion, joined Heathen. Within a year we had a record deal. Everybody was getting record deals. We thought we were all going to be famous, you know what I mean? It was crazy, but the reality was like, trying to really make it big. It's not easy, and you get different people. We had bad management. Different bands that have had bad management problems and stuff, and that was one of the big things for us. So like I said, it took us a while to do Victims, and Victims came out in '91, and the '80s were kind of over, right? So the '90s were kind of, what's going on here? But I think we all made a lot of lasting relationships with each other, all the different bands, but even a lot of the fans and the wives and the girlfriends and all that, to where we're all, the Bay Area is still a really tight, family, as it were. You know what I mean? Like when the book came out, Murder in the Front Row, it's like it was a big deal, and everybody got together to go see the movie together, the Kabuki, and everybody knows everybody. Everybody in that theater knew each other. It was amazing.
Right.
But it's kind of, it was starting to happen again. There's lots of little clubs popping and new bands coming out. Cultural Warfare, Can't Tell, a lot of bands, and Mordred was coming, back together. It was all getting ready to pop again, and then COVID came in and just completely, extinguished everything for a time being.
Let's hope
It sounds like, just going to say, it sounds like an incredible moment in history, like the 80s in that particular part of the States, just all the amazing bands that come out of it. It's just incredible.
When you're there, when it was going on, you don't really realize what's happening.
Yeah.
And you're like, I could say for me, it's like you're like focused on what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And where you're gonna go with it. But you saw, even like there was a whole, punk scene that happened before the metal scene that was going on. A lot of great punk bands came from the Bay Area and LA and New York. And New York had its own thing too. And then they had their metal, they had Overkill and Anthrax, Nuclear Assault. I mean, there's so many good bands that came out of New York as well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Europe. There's, my God, think of all the great bands that came out at the same time, Destruction, Creator. Oh man,
Yeah, I mean,
And
Metal's
a lot of
everywhere.
and all us old guys are still doing it.
yeah. I remember a awesome tour with you guys, Sacred Rage and Sepultura also. I think it was after or the second record,
Not yeah, 91 was that tour.
91. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
After
yeah, that was
victims.
a great. Yeah, that was Victims, and it was our first European tour.
Okay.
Um, you know, that's the first time we had been gone. Well, no, I guess the first American tour was 6 weeks, and that was another 6 weeks. Um, but I'll never forget like our first. We met everybody for the tour at Dynamo,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
and
Holland.
we our first tour bus was an ambulance, an English ambulance, right, with the double doors in the back,
Yeah.
and I'm not kidding. And we catch the ferry to go into I guess into Belgium, but then we're driving to Holland to go
Yeah.
to the Dynamo, and we're drinking the whole way. We finally get there, and we're trying to find where to go into the back area, and all we see is kids with leather jackets and denim jackets with patches fucking everywhere. And we were
Yeah.
like, oh shit, it's on. And there was about 30,000 people there for Dynamo. Um, the headliners were Metal Church and Primus,
Mhm.
Oh,
and Saigon Kick they also played, and it was awesome. When we got there, the tour bus for Primus, I knew the road manager. He was one of my best friends. He gets off the bus, and Les gets off the bus, and I'm standing there, and they're like, and I'm like, hey guys, and they're like, what are you doing here? They had no idea, but it was cool, to be there with them, when it was happening.
right.
But I was going to say is that we were drinking a lot that day, and we met people from all over the world at
Mm.
that festival, and it got pretty overwhelming after a while.
Mm.
And I remember kind of freaking out, it's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, like people in different languages and all of it. And it was just like, okay, 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 make it stop,
Right.
and then, but that's because we were just partying hard. And then the next morning I woke up early and got up and took a walk through Eindhoven and was just elated to be there. I was like, it calmed down. It's like, gonna be okay. But I was still young, and it was the first time ever going to Europe and just being exposed to all that. It was pretty
Uh-huh.
overwhelming. But now I can't wait to go, every time.
Right. How old have you been at the time?
At that time, I think I was 29. I think I was 29.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not too young at the time, but yeah, 29.
Oh,
It must be an
Yeah.
amazing feeling seeing Europe at that time touring and also response and yeah.
Well, thanks to Sepultura, I mean, Arise, that Arise record came out,
awesome.
and they had already had, a couple of records out, and we were playing, I think the smallest venue was 1,500, and then the biggest venues were a couple of hockey arenas that held like 15,000 people, but the average was about 3 to 5,000 every night, every
Mm.
night,
Wow.
and it was just like, this is the shit, It was a trip. But it was there. I mean, it was their tour, so we would do our best, and we win over a lot of fans, every night, and then Sepultura would come out and they were just crushing.
Wow.
And the best guys ever. Love Max. I miss Max a lot. I haven't seen him in a long time. I remember in the early part of the tour where we do our thing and then we're off drinking and going wherever, and Max was like, "Did you see the show?" And I'm like, no, I didn't see it tonight." He's like, "Oh, come on." And I'm like, I get, I saw bits and pieces because you got to see the whole show. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. So
Okay.
we were in Barcelona, and he goes, "You're gonna see the whole show tonight, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." And then I said, I'm gonna sit behind Igor the whole night. And so they come out, and he looked at me and he goes, "Let's go get the kids some fun, eh?" And I'm like, "All right, go." And they were just amazing. And I was a kind of a fan, but that night I became a hardcore Sepultura fan. It was the music's killer, but they also they know how to do it, and they know how to get the crowd going. And even now with the new group, we did a tour with them in Exodus and Destruction for the Thrash Classic Fest or something in 2011. And that was our 30-year anniversary tour, or 20-year anniversary
20.
tour
Yeah.
with Sepultura.
Yeah.
And the guys, the new drummer and new singer Eric is amazing. Just and a super like solid person, had a great tour with them. It was, in fact, that tour was probably my favorite tour of all time, because everybody loved everybody. Everybody took care of each other. We all partied together. It was just a common bond. We played on, the Sepultura guys would have us come up and we play songs together. Like Gary Holt was playing guitar and Andreas was playing guitar. I got up and sang. We did like AC/DC or Judas Priest or whatever. It was just that kind of a tour. No fighting, no squabbling.
So different to these days.
I know. Although Schmier got pissed off. We were in Hamburg. He got pissed off because we got our rider stuff, and it's like, you get your snacks and you get your vodka and your whatever, your alcohol box. And our box, we had like the good Russian vodka.
Okay.
And he got this Swedish vodka, and he was like, "What do you mean? What is this? What is this?" He's like, "Why do you get that? Why do you get that and we don't get the?" I'm like, "Don't ask me. Go fucking talk to the promoter." Don't worry about my vodka. If you want better vodka, go tell that guy. I had nothing to do with it.
Right.
He's like, "It's bullshit. It's bullshit."
Tell me,
How was it?
sorry, David, tell me, if that relationship with the Sepultura, have you ever played in South America?
No. And we were supposed to go last year. After we were supposed to do 10 weeks in Europe, and then we were going to South America
Okay.
in September. Or I think at the end of August or the beginning of September. We had a week. We had a week booked. We were going to play in São Paulo. It was a big festival there.
Yeah.
And then we were going to have a few other dates. And we keep missing it. We were supposed to go a few years ago, 2015. We were supposed to go for 2 weeks. We were going to do the 70,000 tons of metal cruise.
Oh yes.
We didn't have a drummer secured, and Lee was on tour with Exodus, and we had auditioned a guy, but we were waiting for Lee to sign off. Like, okay, is this going to be the guy? So we could tell the promoter so they could start getting it going. And we pushed it, and they wanted to push the dates out further. And then Lee was busy with Exodus doing Summer Breeze in Australia and Thrash Domination in Japan. And it basically just ended everything that we were going to do in South America. And I wasn't happy. Was not happy.
Yeah. I want
As
to
last
see you.
year's tour.
We'll be there. We're going to
for
come.
sure. Yeah,
For sure.
you have this year. Well, I don't know what's gonna happen, but we have the opportunity of Rock in Rio. To come to South America at least for September.
Yeah.
The end of September.
Well, let's. I mean, it's kind of a wait and see. I just got a text from the band, from management, and said that like Keep It True Festival has rescheduled for January of 22. The Rock Hard Festival has been pushed to 2022. So, and that was supposed to happen in May. So as far as I know, I don't know anything else. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite sad, you know.
I try
Damn.
not to think about it because it's like I'm like so like hopeful that okay, finally a new year, we got a vaccine, and they're taking forever to get people vaccinated. Like, come on.
Hmm. It's the same in the States. Like in Europe, it's terribly slow with that whole process. Like,
Yeah,
so probably it's different in the US, but it will take, I think, the whole year to get everybody through that. I think.
yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
you and the band, do you have any plans on how to spend this year if you can't tour? Do you have any plans to write something else or any
well,
side
yeah.
projects?
I did talk about that when we were first talking. Is that um, we have a live record we did in Greece,
Live record, yeah.
and so that's being mixed right now. So that I don't know how long it's going to take to get that out, but that's going to come out this year. And then we want to do an anniversary edition of Victims of Deception,
Yeah.
and then we're working on a few covers to put out, just so we have some content, something fresh, and we'll do that, which is easy. Um,
Yeah.
but then at the same time, we've all been in writing mode. I'm
Mm.
writing, Reagan's writing, Lee's writing. Hopefully, Jason's writing something, and then we'll start pulling notes together. But it's kind of a goal for us to shock the world or shock our fans and put a record out in a timely manner. You know what I mean? After the last one, instead of waiting.
Is-
And
You
what
know,
going to happen with the like streaming or something? You want
I'm
it?
sorry. What's that?
Do you want to make a stream concert, a streaming concert?
Well, it's really difficult to do, and especially when you have to have all the equipment to
Mm,
do it. And as far as like if everybody did it, remotely from their place, and not everybody has the gear,
mhm.
um, I think that it could be possible if things clear up enough sometime this year, and we can all be in the same location and
Okay.
then play live.
yeah.
And I actually suggested they have a great band shell here in Daytona. It's an outdoor facility, and if we can find out about even just renting it, you know, and just
Mm.
go out there and play and record it and have something,
Mm. So you
something
mentioned
different.
before that you yourself and some of the other band members are all writing at this time. Is this how you normally put an album together? Like everyone writes something and comes together, or how do you normally write together as a band?
It's well, over the years it's all been different, um, because we're spread out. That's how it's going to be. The last record, because it was we didn't have a drummer. Our bass player was playing touring with Exorder, and now we got a new bass player. But and Cragen ended up writing the entire record. He was writing while he had written a bunch of stuff really early on after the last record, but then he got busy touring. So he started writing lyrics, and next thing you know it's like I've got all this stuff. I got 10, 12 songs. I got enough for a record. I don't think he intended on writing the entire record. I think he
Mm.
thought that Lee would have something, I'd have more stuff, but just the way it worked out, I had a few things, but he ended up having what was kind of not a concept record, but kind of.
Mm.
And there was just a mode there. So we were like, look, let's just use what you got, all that, and we'll put a record together.
Cool.
And you know, anything that's left over or anything that Lee has, and what I have, we'll finish up now. But I think we have a real concerted effort for this record, to not do that. That we want to all sort of write some stuff and then start comparing notes. And
Mm.
so, like if Lee has some riffs, which he does, he's turning that over to Cragen, and maybe Cragen comes up with another part, and then maybe Cragen writes some lyrics, I write some lyrics, and we compare notes. And we want to really try to make this record a real band effort. But we will be, it'll be a lot of emails and text messages to sort of pull it together. And then I'm hoping that we can get all the guys to come here to Florida
Mm.
in the springtime, and maybe I'll get a studio and we can play and hash some of this stuff out.
Cool. Looking forward to
Yeah.
hearing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be good. And I think, uh, having Lee's input on this next thing, I think is really important, you know. But Cragen did a great job, and really established himself as a Heathen member. You know what I mean? Solidly. He's actually been in the band as our second guitar player longer than any other guitar player's ever been in the band. So
yeah, yeah, and he's all the
but
time like
we'll keep him.
writing music and playing music all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's been, I think for me it was a little bit tough early on, just because it was sort of like almost shell shock, you know,
Mhm.
because it's for me, while Jason was out touring with Exhorter, and Cragen was out playing with Lee with Exodus and
Yeah.
touring a lot, I was playing locally, but I wasn't out doing that, and I miss it. And I was so looking forward to it. And when it all fell apart because of COVID, it's like, shit. So I had a bit of a hard time. I was kind of spinning in circles for a while.
Mm.
I have to admit, I mean, I was picking up my guitar and all that, but it's just hard to focus. It's like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, crazy
I need,
times.
we miss, yeah. I mean, if I don't know if any of you guys are musicians, but playing live is just, that's what I do it for. I love recording. I love the process of that and creating, but to take everything that you've created and then go lay it out, you know what I mean? Let it all hang out on stage there's
Yeah.
nothing in the world I'd rather be doing. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear that a lot in interviews, like number one issue, I think, right now for musicians. And also the feedback from the crowd is missing for the new material. I can imagine you bump out a new album, you can't tour, you don't get any like real feedback. I mean, just in written form.
No, it's totally true. And
Yeah.
and this record too, as well as the Evolution of Chaos. The Evolution of Chaos, it was so fun to tour with that record, because it was so fresh, because it had been so many years, and
Yep.
we really tried to write stuff that was kind of anthemy and parts that the crowd could sing along and get into it, like No Stone Unturned and Dying Season. There's parts in there where, and when the kids were doing that live, it's like, it's so just like, yeah, come on, because then we're all together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not just us going, check out my new song. It's like, we're doing the song and we're all in it together. And with this new stuff, I think Cragen really, it was really important to him to do that as well. And there's a lot of things on this record where I feel like the crowd participation is going to be key when we do come out and play. And if we do a new record, then what are we going to do? It's like you start running out of time to be able to cover all the songs you can, that you want to play live.
Yeah.
We've never
Right.
had that problem before, but now that we have 4 records, and then a 5th, hopefully, within a year, that's a lot of material.
Yeah. So did you record many gigs? Because these days I was seeing like Grass Pop in 2013, and it looks so amazing. I think it was 5 songs, but it looks awesome. That, as you said, the music of Hidden, and the experience between the band and the crowd, at the same time.
Well, that was Keep It True and Hellfest. They filmed those shows,
Yeah.
and you know I love watching them too. It's cool. Like, you see from the vantage point of the big screens, and you're up on the screen, or you see like the guitar players on the screens, and you're running around. Um, those were amazing days. We have a lot of stuff that's been shot, but we with the live record, that was a mobile truck, and it was just an audio recording.
Yeah.
And we talked about taking a lot, whatever footage that we can from those tours, and at least try to piece something together. for the live record. You know, I wish that we could have done something with that show, you know, so that could be exclusively all the Greek fans, you know.
Right.
But that's okay.
Do you have any favorite festival in Europe actually, or all is good?
Yeah, they're all great. I mean, you know, I'm so happy that, you know, like when they invite us to come and play. So, you know, I have nothing bad to say about any of them. You know, I love them. I love the experience, you know, playing for lots and lots of people. But uh, typically for me, and it wasn't always so, but it is now more than ever, the smaller shows in the more intimate clubs
Hmm.
are much more intense. Um, and you know, when you can really just like reach out and you can touch somebody, like whatever, they're right there, you know, no
Hmm.
barricades, and everybody's just flying all over the place. Um, my
Right.
favorite show, my favorite show on the last tour was the Blue Moon Saloon in Milan. Uh, it was this little place. The stage was small, and there was a little box in front of the stage, you know, like a square. And that was my zone. Like, don't get out of your zone. You stay there, you know. And but it was so packed, and it was a hot, you know, summer night.
Uh-huh.
And but man, as soon as we opened up with Dying Season, as soon as I opened my mouth to go, hey, the whole crowd was right there with me, singing the whole song, singing all the songs, and it was just a crazy, amazing night. Um, I, I think we played like 10 songs, and it was at one point, and then our drummer John Deddy was filling in on that tour. He came out from behind the drums and was walking off the stage, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I got to get some air." You know, because it was hot in there,
Uh-huh.
and I go, I was like, "No," because we had all this momentum, and then Lee looked at me and he goes, "Me too." And he goes, tell them we'll come back in 5 minutes. And I was like, oh shit, you know, like I hate that because it's like I don't want to lose that momentum, that groove. So I said,
Yeah.
well, let's go have a beer. And we all cleared out of that club, and you know, just got some air, got a beer. I think we had a break for about 30 minutes, and it was late, and I was pretty concerned, you know, like, okay, are we gonna get this, you know, gonna bring this back? And we went back inside the club. They started making a little bit of noise with the guitars, and within seconds, the place was packed. All the people came back inside, and we
Awesome.
played it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and we played the rest of the set, and just had a blast. It was crazy good. But we've had great shows all over. Uh, the Turok. We've had a couple good shows at the Turok in Germany. The German fans are always amazing.
Mm.
Um, we did a festival back in 2005. It was just Headbangers Open Air, right? It's just a small little festival. It's like 2,000 people or something like that. And we headlined on the Saturday. And you know, the
Cool.
Germans the Germans know how to be metal for sure. You know,
Yes, yeah. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the mosh pit as well, and
of, of what?
of the mosh pit, of the pit.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. We had a really hard pit with Exodus like about 3 years ago in Budapest, and it was really fun. But the time I made it the first time to the pit, the scene was already grown up. You know, it was already established everything, and everybody knew what's about. But I wonder sometimes how it was at Bay Area times. Like you guys basically developed the mosh pit, right? Like it was born there, no?
Well, it was that, you know, I mean, it was all the headbanging stuff, but also Anthrax had it. You know, they were like in the mosh, and
Yeah,
and the Bay
yeah.
Area had its thing too. It was pretty crazy to the point where the clubs actually tried to slow it down or shut it down a little bit because uh, people were getting hurt.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, it's good, friendly fun. Uh,
yeah.
but you know, I remember going to a Metallica show, um, and I had just bought new glasses, and I had them in a case. I stuck them in my jacket pocket, but I got right in the pit, and it was getting pretty crazy. And then I remember coming out of it, and I tapped my jacket, and the glasses were gone.
Of course.
And I was like, no. And I just got them. I just got them that day, but they were insured. So I was like, I have to have something of the glasses, otherwise I can't get another set. Right. So I went in. All this, it's going around in a circle, and I went in, and I'm looking on the ground, and I see the frames, and they're flattened, and then I found one lens, and it was completely like, scruffed and big chunk out of it and scraped. But I grabbed it and I stuck it in my pocket, and the next day I went back to the glasses place. they looked at me like, they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I'm a metalhead,
But I got new glasses.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
It worked.
Right.
Wow.
Do you remember the first time you have seen a pit live, like as a musician or as a fan, or?
Oh God, I don't remember the first time because it was so early on. That was like, because it was happening. Like I think it was probably an Exodus show at Ruthie's.
Yeah.
And it was and we, when I was in Heathen, we played a show with Exodus, and it was Mordred Exodus and Death Angel, and we had a killer show. Everybody was having a killer show, and then Exodus was on, and somebody jumped off, and I ended up landing on me. Totally fucked my neck up. I didn't go in the pit for a while after that, because it was just like, crap. But it was me, not, I'm like, I was in the moment, and then some dude did a stage dive, and he kind of came crashing down, and I was like, okay, that's not good. And my girlfriend at the time was studying to be a chiropractor. I'm like, you need to come to the shows and pass out your business card, for all the metalheads from banging their heads and crashing. But it's like, as the shows got bigger, the mosh pits and the headbanging, all that kind of stuff got bigger too. And I the last show of our last American tour that we did with Destruction, we played the Key Club, the last show in Los Angeles, and they have a balcony above. And when Destruction was on, I was up there with my wife or some friends, I don't remember. We're watching, and most of the people that come to the metal shows in Los Angeles are Hispanic, and we call and the Exodus calls them the Satanic Hispanics, and they're awesome kids, and some of them have bands now. There's like Bonded by Blood is one of the bands from down there. Those are just fans of thrash metal. Anyway, these kids are going berserk for Destruction, and it was just like crazy to watch from above. And then when the show was over, there was like, they're cleaning up cups and stuff, and they're sweeping up like piles of hair. There was like this huge pile of hair from, you know what I mean? I don't know how, but I don't know. But it's like, wow, where did that come from, man?
Right.
It's an amazing thing, but I tell you, I the last thing I wanted is for people to get like hurt, like,
Yep.
like in a major way, and that can happen.
Yeah.
I
don't mind.
I did a show, and it was in Los Angeles, and it was at the Knitting Factory. That was a couple years before. It was Thrash de Mayo, and we headlined that show, and there was a kid that was jumping up on the stage and stage diving. There was a bunch of kids doing it, but there was this one kid in particular, and he looked like my son when he was 16, like exactly like my son. And I'm watching this kid, and I'm completely distracted because I'm like, fuck, I'm worried he's gonna get hurt. He's diving off the stage, and he was like, stop it, And I saw him at the end of the night. I'm like, hey, dude, so you look just like my son, And he goes, "Oh, cool." And I'm like, "Dude, I was watching you stage out." I said, I was worried you're gonna get hurt." And he looked at me like, "Yeah, okay, old man." I felt like 100. I felt like 100 years old. He looked at me like, "Yeah, okay."
What does your son think about metal, actually?
He likes metal, but he likes a lot of the gothic stuff. Like he's a
Uh,
huge Marilyn Manson fan. He's
uh,
he's much more extreme than I am.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
he he but like we went to see Marilyn Manson. Well, it's been more than a year now because COVID took us a year out. But I think it was in 2019. He had gotten hurt and had to reschedule, and then he came back, and I got tickets for my son and I. And my son was like, "Let's go in front, Dad." And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But we did, and I can tell you, it was tame. It was so
Yeah.
tame compared to what I'm used to. It was like, yeah, well, this is nothing. Let me just show you, son.
Does he
Right.
play anything as well, like sing or play any instruments?
Uh, he dabbles a little bit, but that's not his interest.
Yeah.
He's been around the music thing his whole life. His uncle plays guitar. I've been doing music, and he does his own thing. He's got his
Yeah.
own thing going, and I'm glad for that because he's 33 now, and he's making a great living, and um, you know, music is tough. It's
Yeah.
tough to be successful and make
Yeah.
money. You have to really love it,
Mm.
and now actually you know, it's even more difficult with all the streaming because the streaming services they don't pay they don't pay very well. People are
Mm,
streaming that stuff for free, and then when they do subscribe, we're not even getting pennies on the play. It's
mm.
terrible.
Mm.
Are most bands getting the bulk of their income from touring now? Is that the case? So
Yeah,
last,
touring and merch,
yeah,
touring and merch, and
yeah. So
because of the landscape of things too, like a lot of labels that are signing new bands are trying to take some of their merch in the contract. Like, oh, we want
really,
20% of your merch when you tour, which is total bullshit. But it's because the labels are suffering too, you
mm,
know. But they try to take from these kids, and the kids are so excited to get a record deal that they just kind of sign it anyway, figuring, whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, and that's why this was such a killer, with the whole pandemic because we had already booked 10 weeks in Europe, a week in South America, and we had a festival in Japan, and we had good guarantees. We were going to make good money, and that wasn't counting all the merch. you
Mm.
know so it would have been a very successful run, and that was just the beginning.
Mm.
yeah,
Great. Well, I hope you can recover at least in 2022, if not this year already. Like, I hope
yeah,
something
Yeah,
will happen at least
well,
this
we
year.
just have to take advantage of our time. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If we have the time now, just get busy, write some more stuff. The main thing I think is you got to have content. You have to keep it coming. You have to, you know, have something fresh. Like I think we're going to do another video, like a lyric video or some kind of video for maybe Blood to Be Let.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm hoping that there was one of the guys that did something for us was interested in helping us out on that. So hopefully we can do that and maybe even another song just to keep something people interested and content out there because
Mm.
especially because everybody else is just like hanging out listening to music, so you got to give them something fresh every time.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
and also the new kids must to see that Hidden is really alive. It's an awesome album, the last one. So it's gonna be awesome if you can make another video or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I know that we won't do anything. I mean, we won't do like a music video like the old style, but we'll do something interesting. I think we did the Sun in My Hand was wasn't a lyric video. It was actually real animation, from an artist out of France,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I loved the imagery, and it wasn't too expensive. It was reasonable, and and with computers, they can do the lyric videos and they can do the imagery, which is nice to have something like that. And then you guys, especially with the lyric videos, then everybody can learn the lyrics. And then when we do tour, they'll sing along and they'll know the lyrics.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I mean, trying to stay positive all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, guys, I don't know if you had something more to say because we have already a lot of time with David.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's
I
already
love
an
the
hour.
stories. I love the
It's like-
music.
Well, for me, it's all, it's all good. I appreciate you guys' time. And, hopefully we'll see each other very soon.
Hopefully
Thank you
live.
for
It
your
was an
time, man.
honor talking to you, an honor talking
Yeah.
to a legend like you.
Legend.
Yeah.
And for me personally, yes, absolutely.
And for me.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's very nice. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun, and I feel very fortunate that I still get to do this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's because of people like you that we get to do that. So,
Awesome, David. Thank you so much. And of course, you're a legend for me. And I hope to see you really soon this year, next year, or whatever in South America, particularly in Argentina. We're gonna make something to make this real.
well,
But it's awesome for us.
Okay.
well, thank you. I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
I can't wait. I'm trying to sleep in as much as I can, so that way the time goes by faster.
Great plan. I have to copy that.
Thank you so
Oh
much
yeah,
for
no,
your
I'm telling
time.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you guys, and be well, be safe, and
You too.
Likewise.
like I said, thank you so much for having me, and talking with me. I love to talk about music, all of it. So
All the time. Thank you so much,
Thank
David.
you so
anytime.
much.
See you
All
soon.
right,
Bye.
All
all
right.
right. Cheers, everyone.
Hey.
Cheers. Bye.